Oh, what is up, YouTube? G3 Iron here. Today we're taking a look at a forum post that's got some Guild Hall and Guild PvP suggestions. This is in the feedback and suggestions forum thread on the official PoE forums. So I like to mess around on the forums whenever I'm waiting to make trades, or if I'm just checking up and want to see what different people have as different ideas. So anyway, Mikashi has posted this as a suggestion and as an idea, and wanted to throw it out there to YouTube and see what you guys thought. So he says, I might or might not have posted this idea before, but if I did, it must have been several years ago. As the title says, I think PoE has come far enough that such a thing is possible now, creating a guild hall where members can meet and invite other players to. The area could be any of the indoor spaces from the story or maps and would be set by the guild leader and or founder. Either the personal rooms of the guild members would be inside that hall, or there would be doors leading to the individual members' hideouts. It would depend on the feasibility of such an area, since guilds can have an infinite amount of members as long as they buy more space from microtransactions. Some points. The guild space can only be decorated by the leader and officers. If the individual member rooms are in that space, each room can be claimed by a guild member, and only they can edit the decorations in that room. Let people who have completed the game and reached the epilogue start the game in the guild hall instead of in Oriath, though the same could be said about doing the same for people who have a hideout right now. A sufficiently large guild above a set number of members is accessible to the public as a kind of city hub for them to visit. And then he's got this other suggestion for guild PvP. I have some ideas based on feasibility. First, create an area or arena where guilds can duke it out against each other in parties, basically just like the PvP arenas. Beating members from a larger guild will garner the winning guild prestige points, which they can spend for guild decorations. The more exciting one would allow guild invasions, in which one guild can invade another guild's space, where they have to defeat all players inside and then steal the banner. The guild whose banner was stolen will then have that banner disappear from their display for 24 hours, while that guild that stole it will be able to display that banner in their guild for a week for all to see. This generates prestige points per day, with which they can buy guild decorations. Some points. A guild above a certain number of members can set up a banner, which generates daily prestige points based on the number of members. Having a banner automatically enters the guild into the invasion pool. A smaller guild taking a larger guild's banner will generate increased prestige, equivalent to the difference between their guild's generation and that of the losing guilds. A few things that might be difficult to implement, but could be really fun. Let each member use items to create an NPC exile and set their passive tree up to a level 75, which can protect the guild in their absence, or with them when they are online during an invasion. Let a guild leader create an NPC exile and set their passive tree up to be level 90, acting as the protector of the banner, and which has to be killed to steal the banner. Let the guild populate their areas with mobs of up to level 70, like a mini-map for invaders to complete. These mobs would be any that can be found in the game. That last point opens up the possibility for another league. Call it Guild Pack or Guild War or something like that. I know this is a lot, but I hope GGG will see this and consider implementing some of it at least, especially about the Guild Hall. So there's a couple of things here. I think this is a really cool idea. So that's the first thing. First thing, really cool idea. Add some flavor and some multiplayer aspects, some various types of gameplay that would add some layering to the multiplayer that is available in PoE. That's the first thought. Yes, really cool idea, Mikashi. The second thought, what you're basically describing is an MMORPG. And PoE is not an MMORPG. PoE is an action RPG that has some multiplayer facets to it, such as trading, such as party play up to 6 players, even such as PvP, which the queue times basically are negligible. They're not even worth mentioning because most players don't play them. If anybody plays in the Sarn Arena in the one PvP area that's really populated, it's because people need to do the Leo daily mission for some reason, or they're entering into the queue for the daily Leo mission, or there's a very, very small fraction of players that compete on the ladder for PvP ranking, and it's just ridiculous, the small number of players that do it. So, on the one hand, really cool idea. On the other hand, what you're describing is an MMORPG, several of which come to mind. Lineage 2 comes to mind, World of Warcraft comes to mind, Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2 come to mind, as well as a number of other MMORPGs that are available on the market where you've got these sort of guild, castle, assault, siege, world versus world, open world guild hall, guild home attacks, sieges, defenses, etc. So while I think it would be cool inside PoE, the reality is that most of the action that takes place inside PoE takes place in a very, very small window. Long boss fights nowadays, like end game boss fights, if it takes you 5 to 10 minutes, like to kill a guardian or to kill the shaper, like a lot of the times that's an extended period of time. That's a lengthy period of time to go in to run an entire temple of Atsuatl, right, with the incursion league. Like that's a massive, massive area, and yet even that, the boss fight in and of itself, fighting the architect, like is a very, very small, or the Omnitech is a very, very small chunk of the entire temple. Most of the gameplay and the repetitive gameplay that we all love and enjoy about PoE is killing a bunch of stuff really fast and then moving on. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to be a slave to the speed meta. There are certainly different challenges in the game. For instance, Edziri being one of them, Shaper being another, Uber Elder being another, where there are boss fights that are lengthier boss fights that take a longer time to take out. But nonetheless, most of the cycle or the gameplay cycle that people enjoy about PoE is killing stuff fast and getting loot. Playing a massive PvP scaled open world attack, defense, siege mechanic doesn't afford for any of those mechanics. You're not having loot drop. You've yet to mention that, which maybe that's something that could be implemented. Maybe there would be specific uniques that would drop. But you've mentioned a lot of guild decorations, but no actual in-game items. So, there's a lot of risk in the change of balance and in the change of the entire game, the nature of the meta and the nature of the game, if you start dropping things like Watcher's Eye, for instance, a very, very awesome unique that is exclusive for Elder. Like, let's say you make a unique that's just built to drop from PvP guild-hauled raids. If you do that, then you're going to shift the meta, right? Like a lot of people now just farm Uber Elder because they want to get a Watcher's Eye and try and cash in on that. Conversely, there's another segment of the population that just farms lab because they want to farm lab enchantments, and they dump all of their time and efforts and builds into that. I feel like this would either segment the community into another subset of the community, people that want to play PvP. So that's one option. Or the other option is that it's wildly successful. Like we saw that Battle Royale in Rayclast was wildly successful. Tons of people played it, even though it was only available for a limited period of time. We saw that people played it. Regarding your concerns about the feasibility of doing this, I actually think your guild hall ideas with like multiple different rooms and different members can own different rooms, I think we saw with Bestiary that this is possible because Bestiary had separate rooms and separate cages for separate members. Now that didn't necessarily mean that you could go in and edit those rooms, but essentially every time you captured more beasts, they went into their pen, which was editable, which was like your hideout. You went, you traveled, you saw it, you could see your Bestiary grow, you could see how it changed, you could see the number of monsters that you had in there. So I think the tech is probably there, right? The infrastructure is probably there for grinding gear to be able to do this. But the game development and the gameplay cycles are really what make me kind of nervous or kind of worried about this as an idea. Anyway, leave us a comment down below. What do you think? Would you want to continue playing? Would you be interested in playing something that had a guild hall and guild PvP, some sort of siege attack mechanism, attack and defense mechanism for your guild? What do you think? Leave us a comment down below, and as always, like and subscribe for more daily PoE content.